Hello and welcome to the Code Maven meeting. My name is Gabor Sabo. Those who watching the video on YouTube, you probably already seen other videos. So I've been programming for like 40 years, and I've been self-employed for 25, I think, mostly teaching for many years Perl, Python, and recently also Rust. And part of the things I do with the languages or even outside is helping companies to set up test automation. And with test automation comes also some kind of a CI, like say Jenkins or GitHub Actions. So we have an earlier video about GitHub Actions. But I also really like the concept of GitHub Pages or GitLab Pages. We'll probably do a separate video on that. But GitHub Pages, which is another service that GitHub provides that allows us to create a website, basically a static website, so without a backend, let's say, okay? So a website without a backend and host it on GitHub free of charge. And so what we are going to do in this meeting and in this video is we are going to see first how to set up such a GitHub page, a very simple way. We're just writing Markdown files. And then we are going to get into writing some, generating the website basically with some code. And in this case, we are going to use Perl. A little bit actually, I just looked at it, a little bit about examples for Perl. There won't be too much of that. And I'm going to go over a couple of examples of sites that most of them I maintain. I think there's one that's of Dave Cross. So let me share the screen so you can see something more interesting than me. Okay. Oh, an empty terminal. Wonderful. Okay. So this is the GitHub page. This is the meetup page of our meeting, and I would like to mention that I would like to thank it on the GitHub page. I just fixed it. The links, they weren't really links. So we have a Telegram group in case you are don't know specifically for the Perl Maven events. In this meetup group, I also have events about Rust and Python. These online webinars or whatever we can call them. And I would like to thank all the people who sponsor me through GitHub sponsors or Patreon or PayPal. Thank you. That's part of the reason I can do these events. Let me remove this little thing to some other place, then it will be in a better location, the video. And I would like also mention that I basically dedicate all these videos now to the soldiers who are risking their lives and sometimes giving their lives so I can do and my family can stay safe and work on computers. So that's about it. Please join the Telegram group, and if you're not on the meetup group, then please join that. Now I have this page. I'm going to share it with you, and it's going to be linked under the video as well. This is basically the summary of this meeting that are prepared, and I probably am going to also update. So you will be able to see the various links and the various things that I'm trying to go over. So GitHub Pages. If you have an account on GitHub, like I have an account, and this is my user. Okay, so subgob, that's my name basically, or the first few letters from my name, and this is my account. And because this is my account, I can have a GitHub page which is called subgob. So this is the exact same name as my username .github.io. And if I'm trying to visit this page, it doesn't exist, because every time I have this presentation, I prepare this page and then remove it, so the next time I can show it how to create it. So this is where I can have my free GitHub pages. Beyond this, I can also configure to have my own domain name, use my own domain name to show these pages. But the default, but for that, of course, I need to have a domain name and I have to map it to the GitHub Pages. So for now, I'm going to show it without any domain name. So this is going to be the address. In order to create this, I need to go to GitHub and create a repository. So I create the repository, which is the same without all the HTTP, which is the same as that site is going to be. So it's my username and then github.io. This is the name, this is the specific for, in order to create that website, this name needs to be used for the GitHub repository. The repository can be either public or private. There are some limitations for the private one, I think, but the repository can be also both. So I'm going to create now the public version because that's so you can see it. And I also click on the add README. So there is going to be a README file already, and I could also add the gitignore and license and whatever. That's less interesting for now. So immediately, once I create this, I think we can click on the actions, and you can see that there is a GitHub. Okay, I'm not sure who is writing and why. Okay, just feedback. Can you see the screen? Because someone said that they can't see my screen anymore.
I can still see it.
Okay, I can try it again. Okay, I stop the share and I share it again. I don't think that really the thing that helps. We had this issue, and then I think that person receives back somehow the image. So I share it again. Hope that it fixes for that person who okay, got it. Good. So that sort of broke my flow, but what I did is I created the repository and I clicked on the actions. So that's not the GitHub Pages, that's the GitHub Actions. And why did I do this? Because nowadays that wasn't this is not the same as it was, I think, 2 years ago. But nowadays, even if you do the most basic GitHub page, the GitHub Actions already shows you the process that generates the page. So this process actually generates the page, and at the beginning it was this brownish, yellowish color when it was still waiting for the process to be done, and now it's green, meaning that the process has finished. It generated the page from that little README file that GitHub automatically added. And now if I go back to the website and I reload it with Control-R, then here it is. So I already have a website. Okay. And this website is generated by this process from that README file. Okay, now I can clone this. I mean, I could, and this is usually what I do in other videos. I won't go into that too much, but you can actually edit it here. Okay, so I'll do one editing here. So I can put here some programming languages, Python and Rust. These are the main languages I use, so that's why I'm putting them here. These are 3 dots. Okay, I commit the change. I can put here any commit message, commit the change to the main branch, and immediately I can click on the actions, and as you can see, it's now queued on the right-hand side. Now it's in process. So it's working on some process that generates from this new version of the README file, the website. What it does, what it uses actually, and this is the first thing that we have here, is Jekyll. Jekyll is one of these static website generators, which is actually written in Ruby. But this is the default tool that GitHub Pages uses. GitHub uses to generate the GitHub Pages. So basically, this one takes a markdown file because this README file, this one here, this README is a markdown file, MD. Okay, so it takes this markdown file and some templates and generates the HTML page from this. So if I go back to wait a second, okay, it's still yellowish. Why? Brown, whatever. It's green here. Okay, so there's some delay. I can reload
Hey,
here. Yep.
hey, Gabor, can you I'm trying to follow along with my own repo, and I created it
Sure.
from
That's good.
scratch. Can you just rewind a little bit? And I didn't get the actions automatically created. So did I miss something?
Okay, so the actions will only work if your repository. So first of all, maybe I
Oh,
have configured something, but I think it will only work if this is this repository. On every other repository, you have to initiate yourself. So if you
yeah,
have,
yeah. I created mjgardner.github.io, and I went to the actions tab, and I get a get started with GitHub Actions.
so
So
that's let me try to. So it's GitHub MJ Garden, right?
Gar Gardner,
Guard, sorry,
Gardner.
guard.
Oh, is it because I marked? Maybe it's because I marked it as private. Maybe it only does it if it's a public repo.
I don't know, just GitHub dot I. Okay, so I won't be able to see it, of course, because it's a private. Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
so
that might
okay,
be it. Maybe it
but it's a
requires
good
you to be
point.
public.
Maybe so
Mhm.
you can
I'll wipe it and
you can
try
use
again.
other repositories and they will be hanged or whatever shall I call it, mapped underneath this site. So let's say I have a repository. I can even show this one because I have it. So if you go to subgub github.io and this one, okay, so this URL, okay, it's the GitHub pages with some date. This is basically the same repository or similar repository I created when I had the similar presentation with Rust. So, uh, so this is the name of this other repository. So I only need that specifically named repository if I wanted the website to be the root website on my host name. But other repositories can also work. Yeah, okay. So if you leave, you can still watch the video. You just won't be able to ask questions. So let me show you this repository, which is just the same URL, so same host name, subgub.github.io, but this repository name. And if I go to GitHub and my username and this repository, I just copy pasted. So this was that I created. Basically, I moved that repository that I just created, or a similar one, to this, renamed it. And here you can see in the settings, there is a pages. And well, in this one, it's already GitHub Actions. The default that we are using is deploy from branch. So let me go to actually,
Aha.
okay.
Yeah, no, I just realized that was the trick. If you because I didn't want to like show off until I had something, and because I didn't create it as a public repo, I didn't get the actions. Now they're going. So that was the trick.
Okay. But in any case, okay, if you're so okay, good to know. Thanks. But in this repo, if I go to settings and pages, it says that the pages is building from a branch. Okay, and here it says it's building from the main branch. And now, I mean, nowadays, if you create a new repository, the what used to be master branch is now the main branch. So this is the default branch, which is called main. But you could actually change it to some other branch if I had other branches. And historically, the idea was sort of that you will have a main branch or a default branch where you have your code, and then you have a separate branch where you have the source for your GitHub pages. That was sort of the idea. I really never liked that idea. I always thought that it would be much better if the website was created from the same branch where my project is, the default branch or the development or production or whatever branch of my project, but from a subfolder maybe, if it's not a specific repository just to create a website. So if it's a code-based repository that also has a website, then it would be, I would use main branch and then let's say the docs folder. So it won't come from the root. But for now, what we need is the deploy from branch and then the main branch and from root. And if it's not configured for you, then you can do it yourself. And Mark says that where is it? Okay, so now if I reload it, then I can see his source code. Actually, I think, let me show you how can I do this. If I go to my own repository, I can click here and I can click on this checkbox. So on this wheel I clicked on this checkbox, save it. And then now in the repository, I have a link to this website. Okay, so if I go back to yours, here I don't have that link yet. Maybe if I reload, I have. I mean, I know that where to find it because I know that this should be the website. Okay, and here it is. But you can do it to make it, you can click on that thing and to make it easier for you automatically to get that link. Okay. And any more questions, by the way? Okay, this is not interesting. Okay, so you can keep now writing this README file, and then you can start researching how the Jekyll, how can you configure this Jekyll thing to make it nicer. You could put actually in another side, I wouldn't use the README. I would use a file called index.md, and the README would be just a README for that repo, which is not generated to an HTML page. So here it is. If you only have a README file, then that will be the main page of your website. If you have an index.md, then that will be the source of the main page, and the README will be left alone just as a markdown file. Okay, and then basically you can edit it here. You can create the files here, or you can clone the repository, and let me do that now. So I'm going to clone the repository if I find my terminal. Yeah, cd work, git clone, and I'm cloning that repository. So subgub.github.io, and let's create an index.md just to show it. And so here I can write any markdown. Demo for Perl developers. And what shall I put here? So I have this. I put here a link to Perl, the Perl Maven website. Okay, I just need to copy paste it. Perl Maven to make it easier. Okay, so I git add this thing, git commit add index md and git push. Okay, and as I pushed it out, I can go back to again look at the actions and the new code arrived here and it's working. Now let's look into it. We don't see the actual action because it's not configured in our repository. But you can see the steps or stages. So you can see now it's building and then it's going to deploy. And the nice thing is that if you make some errors in your, I don't know, an unreadable markdown file, or I don't know what kind of problems it can encounter, then you will be able to see some output here. Okay, so now it generated it, and if I go here, you can see that now it doesn't take the README anymore. It takes the file, the index file. And here is this Perl Maven link. And you can find the GitHub flavored markdown. And I should add this link as well to this to that page. So this is the markdown that you can use with all the fancy things. Okay, I can paste this link as well here, but I'm going to also add it to this page. So this is all running with Jekyll, and there are many other site generators besides Jekyll. Let's just visit that for a second. So the default one that GitHub uses is called Jekyll, and it's written in Ruby. And you can pick one. Let's say you really want to stick to Perl, then you can find one in Perl. There are many. These are the ones that are listed here. I'm sure there are many more out there, both in Perl and in other languages. I know I wrote a few of these, and none of them are listed here because they are not that generic. But you can pick whatever language you like and play with these tools if you would like to start using it. But of course, for that, you will have to write your own GitHub actions. And we're going to get there soon. This should have been later, this link. Before that, let me show you a few of the other sites that I have that also use just the markdown. So there, I have the github.subgov.com, which is under my domain name. I just called it GitHub because this is where I experiment with GitHub Pages. So you can see it. It has some kind of a design. Okay, this is one of the, not default, but one of the standard designs that come with GitHub, with the Jekyll in GitHub. And then you have some text here, okay, and with some pages. Not very fancy. If I go back to here and I click on the source, actually, maybe I also have here this button that leads to the source, okay, so we can get there. What is interesting here is, I guess maybe this is an interesting piece that you can create a 404 page HTML, and that will be the 404 page. So if someone visits any other page that you don't really have, then it will be that one. The other thing is the underscore config YAML file, where you can put this theme. So that, I don't know what color is that, blue greenish thing that you saw. Let me open it again. So this design, okay, here it's blue, here it's green. So it's, okay. So this design is called the Jekyll theme Cayman, okay. There are a couple of others that you can find that are enabled on GitHub pages. And there are hundreds or thousands, maybe more, for Jekyll that you can somehow install. I never bothered doing that. And then you can have some other metadata here in the file. And I think if I go to one of the markdown files, yeah, so let's look at the raw page. You can have this, some extra metadata in each one of the markdown files. Okay, so this is what you can do with just plain markdown files. And then in this one, I think I even have these assets where I have some CSS added. So this is my own CSS to make it a little bit, I don't know, fancier, or I usually just ruin these things. So don't copy from me. And I think that's everything that in this repository. There is something, one more thing, this CNAME, but I'm not sure that it's really needed anymore. I think this is not, I'm not sure if it's still in use. This used to be the way to configure the host name that is being used. So of course you need two things. You need to tell your DNS server or your DNS provider to map your host name or domain name or whatever to to GitHub Pages. And on GitHub Pages, you have to tell it that this is the specific site that is being served under that name. So this was the old way. I'm not sure if it's still in use. Let's see the newer way that I'm quite sure it's used. So I go to the Pages configuration, and here the custom domain, you can type in your host name, basically. But remember, this is only one side of the story. You also have to configure it in your DNS provider. And I think DNS for GitHub Pages. Yeah, so there is a page describing how to use it. If it's a host name, then you just put a CNAME on it. Where is it? Okay, you can't really see it. Okay, so a CNAME field. Okay, and if yeah, like this. Okay, and if it's a subdomain, if you would like to handle that your host name, like the perlweekly.com, then you have to put the A and the AA fields. Okay, in order to map it properly. If someone really needs it, I can also log into my DNS provider and show that to you. Okay, so there is some story in the chat. Let me take a look at it. I've been using Pandoc for MD HTML offline checking the HTML with MD for 2 reasons. So that I can preview the HTML locally. So I'm not tied to GitHub Pages. Could have bare repo and bare blah, blah, blah. I don't expect free services to last forever. Provider warning. Okay. Yes. So this is our next step, basically. What you are talking about, that you don't, that you check, at least you check your conversion from Markdown to HTML. And Bill writes here that he was using Pandoc for that. Fine, whatever you prefer. Of course, Jekyll is open source, so you can download it and you can generate this whole thing. I think you can download the image, the Docker container that is being used by GitHub Pages. So you could do it offline, the whole thing. But there are way too many ways to do this. Okay, let me get back to this one. So this is how you can, this is a very simple static site. Now the Perl Weekly that many of you are probably familiar is an older style system. So back then, you couldn't, when I started to put it on, when I started to generate the Perl Weekly website, long time ago, you know, then 10, 12 years ago, then it wasn't, none of this was available. And at one point, GitHub Pages started to be available without the GitHub Action part. So just the showing static Markdown files or static HTML files. So this is the way it works. So this is how it looks like. Okay, this is the website. Okay, you might be familiar. And this is the source code. And the way this works is that, let me show the configuration. Okay, I enlarged the fonts, and for a second I didn't understand where the settings went, so it was just behind Pages. So you can see that this is still using a branch called master, apparently. Okay, deploy from branch, okay, from the master branch, and the /docs folder. Okay, so what happens is that in the Perl Weekly, we have the src folder where we have a JSON file for each issue of the Perl Weekly. Okay, why JSON? Again, long story, 12 years ago, that's what I wrote. Okay, and then there are some templates in the TT folder, and there are some Perl code in the lib folder, and actually in the bin, and I think also in the lib folders. So there's some Perl code, and then I can run this Perl code and that Perl code generates from all the files all the JSON files in the SRC and all the templates, generates the HTML files in the docs folder. So this one I'm generating offline on my own computer, partially or mainly because of historical reasons, and I never bothered to set up the generation in a GitHub action that we're going to learn in a bit or see in a bit. So I just keep doing this offline. I run this code and I commit it separately. Usually, if I make even a typo fix, I fix it in the JSON file first, commit it, and then run the HTML generation and commit the new files. So the Perl Weekly website is basically whatever is in this docs folder, and I have no idea what is this A. Maybe there's a I don't remember what. Okay. Authors. Okay, I think for each author there is a page. Anyway, that's basically how the Perl Weekly works. So this is it has the site XML, whatever, robots.txt, everything is generated here. But this is just plain HTML, and then whenever I push it out, the same GitHub action will run. Okay, but because it notices that we have HTML files, it won't run Jekyll. It will just copy those files, and those files will be served under the Perl Weekly domain name. Okay, and that's again here because I have in the settings pages. Here I have the perlweekly.com, and in the DNS server, it's mapped to the GitHub pages. So that's another way to create sites. I wouldn't do this today. Okay, I would just generate something that will generate on the website, and I could still generate it locally, but I would rely on the GitHub action that we are going to see soon. The subgub.com, this is my personal website, and now I'm using this to promote my training courses. And this used to be, I don't remember. I think it's a CGI application. Was written like 20 years ago, and it was running on my web server. But at one point I said, okay, I don't really have anything dynamic on this website, so let's convert everything into GitHub Pages and static things, so I don't have to worry about it. And if one day GitHub stops providing this service, then I can either switch to GitLab, where it provides GitLab Pages, which just basically work the same way, okay, more or less. Or I can just start generating these files, the static files, on my own, because what generates it is the same Perl script. So I took the code that was generating that was serving the website, and now if we go, I don't know if I have the link here. Let me close this. Here is the source. So this is some horribly written Perl code that I wrote, I guess, 15 years ago or so. And then I started to remove a lot of parts, so I have no idea what's in there. But basically, it's just Perl code that uses a GitHub action to generate the website on GitHub Actions. So this is the next thing, basically, what I wanted to show. So let me show first. Let's see it, and then we can copy paste from there. So in order to use this, I needed to have the GitHub folder, the .github folder, inside a workflows folder, and inside some YAML file that is the GitHub action. What is in this GitHub action? Let's go over it. It has a name, fine. It has some trigger. So I have the trigger on push if I'm pushing out the main branch. And also have this workflow trigger dispatch, which allows me to initiate the rebuilding of the website from the GUI of GitHub. So I think I can come to the GitHub actions, and somewhere I can start it. I don't remember anywhere now. I never remember where to start it. Okay, somewhere there is a button that I can start a the actions. Okay, doesn't matter. The point is that I'm pushing out it all the time. Then there are some permissions and some configurations that are usually come with GitHub Pages. I don't even care about thinking about that. And this is the interesting part. So there are jobs. Okay, this is a keyword of GitHub Actions. This is some name, doesn't matter what. This is the name of the job. Here it is called build, but you can call it whatever name you like. Okay, this is a free text, free word. Okay, then you say on what kind of operating system you would like to run your code, and you can pick Ubuntu, or you can various versions of Ubuntu, or Windows or Mac OS. Well, for me, Ubuntu is the easiest. On top of this, you could run a container, a Docker container if you wanted. I think here I don't. I run natively on this Ubuntu. Then are the steps of this event. So the first thing, I need to check out the current repository. So basically what happens, if you haven't watched my previous presentation about GitHub Actions, that whenever the trigger happens, okay, so one of the triggers, whenever I push out to the main branch, GitHub sets up a virtual private server for me, running Ubuntu on it, and then starts executing these actions. The first thing it executes, it clones my repository. So without this command, without this step, I wouldn't have my own source code on this virtual private server. So I need it. Okay, this action is actually mapped to GitHub action and to this repository, and the v4, I don't need the v4, okay? The v4 tag. So if I go to the tags, you can see the version 4. Okay, this is what this means, okay? This entry. Okay, I don't know, whatever. Okay, I don't remember why do I need this one. Okay, from Bitbucket, I also, oh, I know, okay. Because the website, so this website contains some pages from this repository and some other pages from this host local repository. So that's okay, that's a little bit of a mess. I have all of my training courses written in, I think, YAML files or JSON files in this repository, and I display them both on the hostlocal.com website and also on this website. And the way I do it is that I clone that repository as well when I'm generating this website. Then we have to set up the GitHub pages. So we need this action. The name, actually, we don't need the name. Okay, we just need this uses part. Then we set up some kind of Perl. So you can, this is this action. So I can copy paste this one, copy. And if I go to GitHub and copy that one, then you can see this is the action that installs Perl for me, okay, on this machine. And I have to find this repository. Okay. And here I need to tell it, I can provide various parameters, which version of Perl to use, which distribution to use, parameters that you can use. And this is what I have here. Okay, maybe I could update it now, but I don't care. Okay, then I have another step just to show, just to run Perl -v. So if anything goes wrong, I can verify that it indeed installed Perl 5, what Perl says about itself. Then I install the modules. So if you might recall, in the repository, I have a makefile PL, which contains all the dependencies, just like a regular Perl project, okay? Nothing fancy. So this will, the C, I lost it, cpan m. Here also, I just show the version number, and then this one installs the dependencies, and then I run the Perl makefile PL, make test, okay. I have some tests. And then I generate the pages. This is setting an environment variable for my code. It's not necessarily a guess. And here I have some Perl script that generates the HTML pages of the subgub.com website. And where does it generate? So let's take a look at it, at the generate file. It creates a folder called _site and puts all the HTML files in there. So it's not docs like in the other case, it's _site. And why is it _site? Because the next step defaults to take whatever is in the _site folder and upload it to GitHub Pages. Okay, this is the default. Maybe it can be configured. I don't know. I've never tried it, I think, or never found it. So I just generate my website in the _site folder. We are going to see it in our very simple repo. So this one generates the website. And then this action takes the _site folder, zips it up, and uploads it to the artifact manager of GitHub Pages, of GitHub. And then there is this extra thing which I just keep copy pasting because this is what GitHub suggests, which runs the deployment step. So this is what actually deploys the GitHub Pages. Okay, based on the zip file that was uploaded by this action. So that's relatively many steps, but this is how the subgub.com website is being generated. At the end, this is just a very simple or not so simple Perl script. So now let's take, or if you have any questions, of course, ask it, but let's take now our own repository that we just created, okay, remember this one, and set it up so it will be also generated from our own Perl script, not from the Jekyll and the Markdown, but whatever Perl script we are going to write. So for this, we need to create the GitHub folder, workflows subfolder. I go to the subgub.com that we just saw, and GitHub workflows, and this one, and I'm going to copy this one to GitHub workflows. Okay, I don't need all of it, so I'm going to edit it a little bit now. Okay, I can remove this the branch thing. Okay, it doesn't matter. I can restore it. Okay, let's have it. These ones I need. Okay, these ones I need. I don't know what is this. I don't need it anymore. Okay, I don't need this one because this site doesn't need it. I need to set up the pages. I don't even need this one actually. Okay. It's only needed if I really want that Perl, but I think this Ubuntu will come with Perl. Okay, then I can run, and just to clarify, this pipeline allows me to put in several commands, but I don't need this pipeline actually here. Let's remove it for now. Okay, I won't need any modules installed, so I'm just commenting out, so it will be there for you if you'd like to copy paste from there. But we don't really need any of these because our thing will be way simpler. We don't need this environment variable. Okay, I can comment it out. And I just need to generate it. But I need to write this generate PL. So add generate.pl. Okay, let's use strict use warnings mkdir _site and open file handler for writing in the site index.html, okay, or die, and then print to this file handler hello from Perl. Okay. I think that's it. Let's quit it and let's run this Perl generate. Okay. So it if everything works fine, yeah, it created this underscore site folder. And in the underscore site, it created an index HTML, and here is our HTML. Wonderful. Now I'm going to create a git ignore as well and put there, first of all, the swap files, backup files. Okay, you can do more fancy, but most importantly, this site folder. Okay, so git status now tells me that it doesn't talk about the underscore site anymore because I don't want to commit it. Okay, I want it to generate this whole thing in the GitHub action. So git add git status. Okay, so I'm going to add the Perl script that generates the website, git ignore to ignore it, and the GitHub action that if I didn't make any mistakes, then it will run basically this generate PL and deploy the website. Git commit generate site by Perl. Okay, now before I push it out, let's go to our repository. Okay, where is it? In which one? I don't remember. Let's open it again, subgub github.io. Okay, so this is our repository. Let's go to the settings, pages. It still says that it's deployed from branch. Now I have to tell GitHub Pages to, instead of trying to deploy from the branch, to use the GitHub actions. Okay, and then I could here configure whatever GitHub action I like, but I already know that I'm already configured. So now I think it will try to do it because I told it, and it will complain somewhere that it can't, or it just won't to do anything, okay, because I don't have any GitHub actions. Now, if I push this out, you can see soon, hopefully. Maybe I need to reload it. Yeah, okay, maybe it was updated. So here is my commit, and now you can see that this build, what we call build there, is running. It actually printed out the Perl version that I asked, okay, 5.34, sorry. That comes with that Ubuntu, so I didn't even have to set up my own Perl. The generate pages doesn't say anything, it just prints out. Of course, if there was some output, I would see it. And now if I go, this one, I think, yeah, and reload this one, here it is, hello from Perl. Okay, so now it disregards all the MD files that I had, and just that thing, just the files that are in the underscore site folder, only those are going to be the content of the website. But then at this point, basically, it's your game, okay? You use whatever tool you like. You can, if you would like to write your own Perl code to generate a website, you can use any templating system. You can use any HTML toolkit or whatever, and you're fine. Any questions while I'm drinking? If you don't ask questions, I will drink too much and then, yeah. Okay, so basically, we created a GitHub action and a very small Perl script that can generate a very stupid small HTML file. But we have a website using that. And from this, really, you can do whatever you like to generate your website. You could use, okay, so now here we go back to these tools. So these static site generators. So in order to use something else besides the Jekyll that comes with GitHub Pages, you need to set up the GitHub action, and then that GitHub action needs to probably install whatever it is and run it, and then it will generate the website from your probably markdown files. Okay, so if you'd like to use one of these tools, then you need to combine the GitHub action that will execute this on the server and install this. Okay, so we saw this, we saw these ones, we saw these ones. Fine. So let's see. I don't want to go any deeper on how to write your Perl code. That's you know probably way better than I how to write Perl code and then generate these HTML pages. And if not, then this is going to be the fun part for you to find out. So I'm going to look at a couple of these other sites. First of all, this Cantonico. So Cantonico is a website for basically a dictionary, but it's more than a dictionary because it has all kind of other texts and voice and whatever that you can type in Ladino, which is the Spanish that is or was spoken by the Jews who were expelled from Spain and Portugal 500 years ago, and then they were moved to all kind of other places, mostly Turkey under the Ottoman rule, so Turkey and back then Greece and areas of that, and kept speaking their version of Spanish and mixing. And so they have this language which is quite similar to Spanish spoken 500 years ago. And it's a lot of fun for me. Unfortunately, not many people still speak it. But anyway, I thought that I'm going to create some tool for them. And so you can type in Casa. If any of you speak Spanish, you can see that this is the Spanish, the Castellano, the Spanish version, the modern Spanish version. It's in Hebrew. This is old Hebrew letters, but written the Ladino word, and it's in English, and you could also configure it to see it in Turkish and other languages, and you could write it in different language, and it translates, so all kind of other things. Casa. Okay, I wanted to write it in Spanish. Anyway, so this website sits on GitHub Pages. It doesn't have any backend. It's only front end, some HTML files, and some JavaScript to do this translations thing. And it doesn't know how to translate sentences. It just works. But you can keep writing. So you can write Casa blue. Okay, and then it can translate words, but single words. So how does it look like? It's written in Python, but the idea is the same. The source code is actually in like apparently 18 repositories, and it has its own GitHub organization. So there is one that contains the code, which is called Ladino Diccionario code, okay? And I think this is the same one that runs, actually no. There's a separate one, which is called cantonico.github.io, which runs the code. And it clones all of these repositories and combines them and builds the website from them. And the reason is this, I decided to do it this way is because, let me go back to the list of, where is it? I lost it. Oh no, it is this one. Okay, so the reason it's divided is because there are certain sources of data with different licenses and different formats. So for example, we have this WhatsApp. Okay, there is some guy who is sending out WhatsApp messages to the people who subscribe to ask to be part of his WhatsApp group. And in each WhatsApp message, he writes in Ladino the Hebrew translation and then reads the Ladino text. And he allowed me to put it on the website, and then it's cross-linked to the dictionary. And not all the words are in the dictionary yet. But this has its own repository with its own license and all the data formats, which has the sound files there. And then there is another one, Una Fraza, which is some other woman who also a Ladino speaker from Turkey. And she has had these messages, and you can look and see it in Spanish and Turkish and English, and so it's in Ladino, in Spanish, English, and Turkish, and her voice. And then a couple of other things. There are these are these nice slides, or I don't know, someone is creating them, and so I am displaying them here, and I also have the words and the map. So each one of them is its own repository. And so let me close this one, so not that interesting. So this is the one that runs the code. So let's take a little look at it. What it does, it clones all the repositories. So I need to update this one because it's old version it's using. But here, check out, this one is checking out this repository where the Canonical GitHub.io. So this is the one that we are looking at. But then we go on and we clone all the other repositories as well, okay, into various subfolders. And then once I cloned all of them, then we have the standard things of Python, installing the dependencies, and then running some shell script here, I guess, that will call the Python and generate the website. Okay, but the main clue here, the main interesting part is that here I'm cloning each one of the repositories into some subfolder, and then the code knows how to navigate these folders. This is one side, but I also wanted to regenerate the whole website whenever I push out to a repository, to one of the data repositories, because this one, I rarely update this repository, right? This is only the GitHub action. So this repository basically only contains the GitHub action, and that's it. This generate sh, nothing else. Not the code that generates the website, not the data. So what I did also is we can go to one of the words, okay? So this is where the words are. So each word, let's say, it won't be able to see it because there are so many. Each word, basically, there are a few errors here. Each word is just a YAML file and then whatever. But we also have a workflow. And this workflow, what does it do? So it runs some tests, but the main interesting part is that it uses a personal access token and sends a request to the, where is it? To the Canonical GitHub.io repository, okay, or the API around that repository. So this sends a trigger to run the GitHub action in that other repository that generates the website. So basically, anytime I push out a change to one of the words, or I accept a pull request, because luckily a few people help who know Ladino better than I do, because I just learned it. And so whenever they send a pull request and I accept it, it automatically generates the website. So let me get back here for a second. Why I wanted to get back? I think because of the trigger. I wanted to show you the trigger. So this workflow dispatch is needed in order for, I think, I'm not sure now, but I think this is needed in order for to be able to send that API call. Actually, I'm not sure, but I think that's the case. And you need that token. But it's a very nice, I think, very nice setup where each repository can be updated, and then it triggers the central one and generates the website. Now, this still based on pushes, change things that we push. Now let's see one of the websites that's not mine. This is the Planet Perl that Dave Cross maintains, builds and maintains, and it has a link there to its GitHub. This is basically an RSS feed reader that generates the list of blog posts about Perl. Here is the source, and before I forget, you can click here, and apparently Dave Cross is teaching all kind of GitHub stuff for some money, so you can sign up there and learn from him. This is the source. So the interesting thing that this is not triggered by pushes, or that's not the main trigger, but instead what happens in this workflow, this is the workflow, it has a scheduler. Okay, I had in my repositories as well, but they were commented out. So it has a scheduler, which is just a regular cron top configuration. So it will run every, what I never noticed, every 4 hours, I think, or every, I never noticed, okay? It's either every 4 hours or 4 times a day, okay, on the 0 minute. And so what this code does is every, let's say, 4 hours goes to all of the repository, sorry, all of the websites, downloads their RSS feed, and builds the website on its own again and again, okay? So this doesn't wait for a push. It also happens when you push it out. So if he makes a change to the configuration file or to the template, apparently, okay, so this one basically says that if there is a push to one of these files, this is the configuration file that lists the websites, and this is the template that is used, template toolkit that used to generate the website. So if he makes some changes and pushes them out, then also the website is regenerated, but also every 4 hours. Yeah. Yeah, so project supporting endangered natural languages, dialects are neat. That's what Bill writes. The modularity of that nested repo was a nice case study. Indeed, I think it was nice. I wrote it. Okay, and endangered, I think, yeah, so Ladino, as far as I know, there are about 60,000 people who can still speak, but almost no one uses on a daily basis. I actually have a Zoom group. I have a WhatsApp group for speakers where we write to each other, and we meet twice a week speaking the language. But it's sort of, I don't think that it will last too long, unfortunately, because it's a very nice Spanish language. It's full of Turkish words, full of Hebrew words, Greek words, whatever. Anyway, that we are not talking about that too much. I have a few videos about the Cantonico website on my YouTube channel if you're interested. Much deeper how to build it. Okay, so this is oh, interesting. Okay, so this is what I mentioned to you, that I am building in the underscore site because I never knew how to tell it to upload it from other folder. Apparently, they figured it out. So I can use this one and I tell which folder to upload to the. So I won't need to use the underscore site anymore because I can use this one. Okay, so that's a nice thing. But basically, this is the whole same idea. Run some code and then upload it. Okay, just the big difference that is triggered by a cron job mostly, and it collects data from the internet. Another one, and it's written in Perl. The forum reports. So this is just a very small website. You might know this website called dev2. Actually, forum is the name of the source code underneath this dev2 website. And when I was active on it, I wanted to see some data that they provide. So I ran this code. I wrote this code that you can see that runs every, I don't know how often. We can take a look at it. It looks and collects the data. Okay, so it runs every hour, 4 minutes after the hour. It runs and collects the data. Now, the one big difference between this and let's say what Dave uses now, Dave uses what the way Dave uses now is that it downloads the XML files, generates the pages, and that's it. This one, on the other hand, in this one, I wanted to collect the historical data. So where do I collect it? Well, I can use some external database, but what I use here is that I store it in the same repository. So let's go back. The data is here. All the collected data from the dev2 website is collected here. Now, I haven't touched it for a long time, but you can see lots of JSON files. Probably I need to be like 94,000 files. I should have hashed the files and put them in subfolders. But what the use case here, okay, is that this is the GitHub action, that it runs every hour, collects the data, okay, so it has some code to, it uses the API key to collect data from actually 2 sites. They are both running this forum. And then this piece of code, this action, commits the local changes. So it saves the data in that data folder. It doesn't generate, it generates the website, okay, but it saves the data in the data folder and then commits the new data back to this own repository. So it obviously shouldn't run on pushes. Actually, it knows that it won't run on its own commits. That's nice, okay? But that's the interesting thing, and I have some extra here, so it only commits if there is, I don't know, whatever number of files changed, because doesn't really matter. Okay, so this is how it commits. One thing that is interesting, that it uses this user email to commit. I don't remember where I got it from, probably from Dave. Back when he was using this kind of strategy for his website. It's good because then these commits won't count as your own work, okay, which might be good or bad depending on how you look at it. And we are getting to the end. Okay, so this one more thing. is also a very small website with some YAML files, as I think, if I recall, and there are some JavaScript here that shows the events in the local time zone of the viewer. So because I'm in Israel, I'm showing it shows the local time in Israel when this event is going to take place. And I have some code here that allows me to filter the events to hours in my time zone when I'm awake. Now it says 0. Now let's say I am looking for things that start between 16 and 24. It's in 24 hour, so the Americans will have harder time. Okay. This is just a little JavaScript, nothing. The Ruby digger, you might be familiar with the cpan digger. It's not on GitHub Pages anymore. It used to be, but now it's on my own server. The Ruby digger is still running on GitHub Pages. It doesn't collect that much data. I have a monitor script that, again, this actually doesn't generate any website. It just monitors, it's written in Python, monitors websites. Okay, every once a day, not very. It lets me know if I forget to renew the SSL certificate of my website with a 24-hour delay, but it's better than not knowing for 3 weeks, right? So it does that. I could have scheduled it once an hour, but I don't really need that. And then there is the Rust Maven website, which is using my own static site generator that I'm writing in Rust. And that's it. I think I covered like quite a lot of things, more than an hour. I think I've been talking, an hour and 10 minutes sort of. Any questions still in the video, or shall I stop the video and then we can have some chat? So just a reminder, YouTube at CodeMaven. This is the YouTube channel. If you are watching now, or just go to the channel, thumbs up on the videos, on this video, so like it, and subscribe to the channel, okay, here, button. I'm subscribed to my own channel, that's good. And that's it. So thank you for being here. And those who are watching the video, thank you for watching. Please remember to upvote it, share it, and follow the channel. And see you at one of the future presentations.